Hey, what's going on? What I want to do, I just want to read a few paragraphs about the man behind Honda. You might see somebody pulling up in a Honda, and you pass him up like in your Bentley or your 550 Benz, and you looking down on him like, see that nigga there in a cheap ass car. But you gotta think about the man behind Honda. In 1938, while he was still in school, Mr. Honda took everything he owned and invested it in a little workshop where he began to develop his concept of a piston ring. He wanted to sell his work to Toyota Corporation, so he labored day and night up to his elbows in grease, slipping in the mechanic shop, always believing he could produce the results. He even pawned his wife's jewelry to stay in business. But when he finally completed the piston rings and presented them to Toyota, he was told they didn't meet Toyota's standards. He was sent back to school for 2 years, where he heard the derisive laughter of his instructors and fellow students as they talked about how absurd his designs were. But rather than focusing on the pain of the experience, he decided to continue to focus on his goal. Finally, after 2 more years, Toyota gave Mr. Honda the contract he dreamed of. His passion and belief paid off because he had known what he wanted, taken action, noticed what was working, and kept changing his approach until he got what he wanted. Then a new problem arose. The Japanese government was gearing up for war, and they refused to give him the concrete that was necessary to build his factory. Did he quit there? No. Did he focus on how unfair this was? Did it mean to him that his dream had died? Absolutely not. Again, he decided to utilize the experience and develop another strategy. He and his team invented a process for creating their own concrete and then built their factory. During the war, it was bombed twice, destroying major portions of the manufacturing facility. Honda's response: he immediately rallied his team and they picked up the extra gasoline cans that the U.S. fighters had discarded. He called them gifts from President Truman because they provided him with the raw materials he needed for his manufacturing process, materials that were unavailable at the time in Japan. Finally, after surviving all of this, an earthquake leveled his factory. Honda decided to sell his piston operation to Toyota. Here's one man who clearly made strong decisions to succeed. He had a passion for and belief in what he was doing. He had a great strategy. He took massive action. He kept changing his approach, but still, he could not produce the result that he was committed to. Yet he decided to persevere. After the war, a tremendous gasoline shortage hit Japan, and Mr. Honda couldn't even drive his car to get food for his family. Finally, in desperation, he attached a small motor to his bike. The next thing he knew, his neighbors was asking if he could make one of the motorized bikes for them. One after another, they jumped on the bandwagon until he ran out of motors. He decided to build a plant that will manufacture motors for his new invention. But unfortunately, he didn't have the capital. As before, he made the decision to find a way no matter what. His solution was to appeal to the 80,000 bicycle shop owners in Japan by writing them each a personal letter. He told them how they could play a role in revitalizing Japan through the mobility that his invention could provide, and convinced 5,000 of them to advance the capital he needed. Still, the motorbike sold to only the most hardcore bicycle fans because it was too big and bulky. So he made one final adjustment and created a much lighter, scaled-down version of the motorbike. He christened it the Super Cub, and it became an overnight success, earning him the Emperor's Award. Later, he began to export the motorbike to the baby boomers of Europe and the United States, following up in the 70s with the cars that have become so popular. Today, at the time this book was written, the Honda Corporation employees was over 100,000 people in both the United States and Japan. And at that time, it was considered one of the biggest car-making empires in Japan, outselling all but Toyota in the United States. It succeeded because one man understood the power of truly committed decision that he acted upon, no matter what the conditions was. Consistency breeds champions.